Please be seated.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, honorable members. I will now allow the secretary to read the order.
Debate on vote number 36, Small Business Development Appropriation Bill.
Thank you. I can see that the only person who says good morning is Honorable Mkalipi Mkayawami. I will now recognize the Honorable Minister of Small Business Development.
Thank you so much, House Chair. Ministers and Deputy Ministers present, members of the Portfolio Committee on Small Business Development, the Director General and Senior Managers of the Department of Small Business Development, board members and executives of SIDFA, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, fellow South Africans, my dear princess up there, Esnagondabeni, fellow entrepreneurs, good morning. 2026 is a special year in the South African calendar. On the 16th of June, we will commemorate 50 years since 1976 Soweto uprising, which profoundly changed the country's socio-political trajectory and set in motion processes of mass mobilization, which ultimately brought the apartheid state to its knees. On the 9th of August, we will also commemorate 70 years of the Women's March, a defining moment in the anti-apartheid struggle, in which more than 20,000 women marched to demand the repeal of the laws. You strike a woman, you strike a rock. We owe our political freedom to those youth and women. It is incumbent on us as today's leaders to ensure that this political freedom translates into economic freedom, especially for youth, women, and people with disabilities who bear the brunt of unemployment and inequality. It is also 30 years since we adopted the Constitution of the Republic, which laid the foundation for dignity, equality, freedom, and economic participation for all our people. This budget vote 36, Madam Chair, gives practical expression to Section 22 of the Constitution, which guarantees the freedom of trade, occupation, and profession. It is about expanding opportunity, restoring dignity, and building an economy in which every South African, emphasis South African, regardless of geography, gender, age, or social background, can add value and participate meaningfully. The NDP is clear that growth and jobs will come from smaller enterprises, just under 90% of new jobs and upward of 60% of new economic value. The evidence is clear. Small enterprises are the largest employer in this economy. They are the entry point into economic participation for the majority of South Africans. They are where the first generation entrepreneurs build generational wealth. They are where transformation happens. As the portfolio, we are targeting to support 1 million MSMEs and cooperatives in this 7th administration. I must say we are on track. During the last financial year, we supported 288,123 MSMEs, with 170,135 of those receiving financial backing and 170,989 benefiting from non-financial intervention and development. Honorable members, we meet at a time of global uncertainty. Geopolitical tensions, supply chain disruptions, and rising costs continue to reshape the global economy. These pressures are felt most acutely by small businesses, farmers, and entrepreneurs across our towns, townships, and the rural areas. This reality is a simple truth. We must build a resilient, locally anchored economy capable of withstanding external shocks. At the same time, disruptions bring opportunities to entrepreneurs who provide innovative solutions to the challenges we face. I see this every day as I interact with entrepreneurs from the dusty streets of Kuruman to the industrial heartland of Ekurhuleni. Today, I will speak largely to numbers, to what we have achieved, what we are planning, and the budgets we have allocated. But behind each of these numbers is a South African entrepreneur. I wish I had more time to introduce you to the entrepreneurs that we serve, as many do not believe that we do serve entrepreneurs. I will just touch on two today. Ms. Mahapa Raisipe Matlago, who runs a wholly black youth and women-owned manufacturing company in Robertsville in Roodepoort. She manufactures personal hygiene products, soap, health and wellness items with an uncompromising commitment to quality and safety. She's currently a private label manufacturer for Boxer Superstores, producing 3 types of soap. Try it, honorable members, so that you can support a small business. But fulfilling a contract at a national retail scale requires capital that a young black woman manufacturer, however talented, could not access. SITFA stepped in through the Small Enterprise Manufacturing Support Program, provided 13.8 million, which helped her to create 32 new jobs. That is not enterprise development. That is supply chain transformation. And that is what a young woman in Roodepoort is delivering, with SITFA behind her. Honorable members, allow me also to mention Ms. Tenjiwe Tsabeze, a black woman who acquired the Proti Hotel in Mahikeng and renamed it to Indalo. Indeed, the new owner is a black woman entrepreneur, backed by SIFA and other financial institutions to the tune of 80 million rands. I must say, this is not a small moment. A black woman now holds the title deed to a property that under a different political order, she could never have entered through the front door. Now she signs the contracts. She sets the vision. She employs the staff and shapes the guest experience. I wish I had more time to share many of these good stories because there are many of them. This financial year is anchored around the same priorities that we have articulated to this House. A 5-year term of government which represents continuity, building from what I tabled last year. We continue with reforms to reduce red tape and improve the ease of doing business. We commend the Minister of Finance for increasing the compulsory VAT registration threshold from 1 million rands to 2.3 million. This is a major victory for small businesses across the country. This will ease the cost of doing businesses for MSMEs, as continually pushed by His Excellency President Ramaphosa. In his opening address at the recent National Elite Summit, which we hosted with Salga and Kokta, he said, and I quote, MSMEs must not be burdened by long-winded administrative processes. MSMEs just want to trade and must be allowed to trade. They must not be taken from pillar to post to register or license their businesses. We must make it easy to start and operate a business, I close the quote. This year, honorable members, our department will introduce a one-stop shop digital platform for business licensing, giving effect to what the President has directed us to do. We will continue pushing for reforms. 5 of the 25 pieces of legislation will be dealt with in this financial year, working with the departments that are responsible for those pieces of legislation. We continue to reduce administrative burdens to MSMEs. We have finalized consultations on the business licensing bill and will soon be tabling the bill before Parliament and the NCOP. While we wait for Parliament to finalize the appointment of the Small Enterprise Ombuds, we have appointed minimum staff in the Ombuds office and have established a complaint register. Entrepreneurs continue to play a critical role in South Africa's townships and rural areas, despite the many constraints they're facing, including access to finance, security concerns, and the lack of business infrastructure. The competition from illegal foreign-owned businesses and large retailers and supermarkets encroaching on local markets. To support them, we have developed the Township and Rural Economic Development and Revitalization Policy. We will be scaling our offerings as the portfolio for TREP, building on the successes we've made in 25-26, where we dispersed more than 829 million rands to over 111,000 MSMEs through TREP. The funding limit now, which used to be 1 million rands, has been increased to 3 million rands to broaden access and deepen impact. This year, we have allocated 710 million rands. Another significant intervention we are making is that of provision of asset assist program that members know that is a grant-based intervention to support small and micro enterprises, which cannot afford to take debt and with productive assets. Last year, we supported 938 MSMEs to the value of 190 million rands. This year, we have allocated 215 million to provide to a minimum of 860 MSMEs. The IMEDP provides equipment and productive assets to informal micro enterprises. Last year, I'm pleased to report that we supported 2,940 beneficiaries. This year, we are planning to support 3,000 with an allocation of 53.5 million rands. Our Spaza Shop Support Fund, which we implement together with DTIC, supports spaza shops with stock acquisition, formalization, compliance, and operational sustainability. To date, we have supported 1,316 to the fund value of 79.6 million rands. This year, we'll exhaust the budget, the balance of 70.4, as we had allocated 150 million rands to this, and 350 million rands is with DTIC, not small business development. We continue to provide financial and non-financial support to cooperatives with a target of supporting 50 cooperatives this financial year. An amount of 63.5 million rands has been allocated. The other key instrument is the provision of business infrastructure support to MSMEs, where we support industrial parks revitalization and provide equipment and energy solutions and shared production infrastructure for cooperatives. Last year, 36 applications were approved for equipment and machinery, 11 applications for built infrastructure, and 9 MSME hubs for refurbishment and repurposing. We identified and prioritized these hubs together with sub-national spheres of government. I will provide more specifics on the projects in the budget vote that I will table in the NCOP. This year, we allocate 314.3 million rands to this program, supporting 10 hubs and shared infrastructure facilities to a minimum of supporting 50 MSMEs. Without business infrastructure, there is no access. Without access, there is no growth. There can be no doubt amongst honorable members that we are committed to economic redress and undoing the legacy of apartheid spatial inequality. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, besides townships and underdeveloped rural areas, the other legacy bequeathed upon us by the apartheid is a highly concentrated market with very high barriers for new entrants. I know some among us today choose to ignore this fact. We've been active in addressing market failure. That is why through SIDFA we funded sustainable doctor and nurse-led MSMEs in township and rural areas, which created many jobs for unemployed healthcare professionals, whilst we improve healthcare access for communities. We funded construction subcontractor development, building the pipeline of black-owned contractors for South Africa's infrastructure program. We funded inclusive technology deals, supporting MSMEs that are service providers and connectivity enablers in their own communities, extending digital access to rural and township areas that commercial providers have not reached. Last year, we placed 250 products on shelves and facilitated domestic contracts or purchase orders for 293 MSMEs. We supported 2,809 businesses with local market readiness and 890 with export readiness. This year, we will intensify our efforts. Government has promulgated the Public Procurement Act and associated regulations. As the portfolio, we provide incubation support, standards and quality assurance, and financial support, including supplier guarantees, as we partner with departments and state-owned companies to build their MSME supplier capabilities. We continue our work with Proudly SA, as we will be implementing a re-engineered small business exporter development support program, which is more outcomes focused. This year, we will facilitate domestic and international market access for 3,730 MSMEs and cooperatives. This will strengthen local manufacturing, promote import substitution, and position South African enterprises to compete globally. We must move from being a nation that consumes to a nation that produces. South African MSMEs must not just participate in the economy, they must lead it. We're currently implementing the MSME and cooperatives funding policy and are scaling up our financial offerings. Last year, through SIDFA, we provided finance to black-owned enterprises which received 2.3 billion rands. Rural enterprises were injected with 1.2 billion rands. Women-led businesses were empowered with 1.2 billion rands. Youth-owned enterprises received 501 million rands, whilst township economies were revitalized with 383 million. This year, we are going bigger and tailoring our financial products for niche sectors and constituencies. We are done with doing everything that we see. We're focusing on particular value chains. And this, of course, I know there's an honorable member that will talk to. We have recently launched the Imbali for Her program, which will expand affordable finance and business support for women-owned. We are putting 310 million rands for this year. As announced last year, the Youth Entrepreneurship Fund has been revitalized and we will launch it during the Youth Month in order to support youth entrepreneurs. A 150 million rands that goes to the Creative Sector Fund will be launched in the second half of the year, providing essential funding for our creative entrepreneurs. The redesigned 100 million Nyamazane Fund for military veterans is scheduled for launch in July. A 300 million rand tier SIDFA Innovation Fund will be launched to commercialize innovative ideas for scalable growth. We continue to partner with departments. This year, Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources to create a fund to support the coordinated and impactful development of artisanal and small-scale mining. Through Kula Credit Guarantee, we will provide supplier and credit guarantees to the value of 1 billion rands. We've just begun transforming not just who receives finance, but who provides it. The approval of 70 million rands in new facilities to 4 new black-owned MFIs in this past financial year brings the total number of black-owned MFIs on SIDFA's books to 8. We made progress on the National Entrepreneurship Strategy as we reported on the Incubation and Business Development Services Policy, which brings long overdue coordination, standardization, and quality to enterprise support. These are not just policies. These are instruments for transformation that must translate into measurable outcomes on the ground. Last year, we supported 24,497 entrepreneurs with training and mentorship. 53,769 individuals were reached through entrepreneurship awareness programs. We launched the Northern Cape Agricultural Incubator, which employs 200 people as we speak. We invested 78 million rands towards the establishment of 30 food market squares linked to the 2 billion rands Mpumalanga Fresh Produce Market. These food market squares are projected to create more than 426 jobs through supporting 120 MSMEs. We're working to scale support in the professional space, and this year we will be establishing a medical incubator and manufacturing hub. No toothbrush has been produced in South Africa. We're going to make that difference. This year, we will formalize 11,000 informal enterprises. Last year, we hosted the Global SMME Ministerial Conference and the Startup 20, which exposed many of our businesses to the 66 countries that were led by the policymakers. This aligns, of course, with the work that we continue to do, as we believe that it is important that we must digitize, whether we're talking about infrastructure or services, it's important what we continue on digital transformation. One SIDFA responds to this. A platform for the first time which is integrated and introduces an alternative credit scoring and combines funding, business development support and credit guarantee services into a single digital ecosystem. To improve turnaround times and track the progress of applications in real time, it has been launched. We've developed the MyCBI digital banking platform, which is meant to assist cooperative banking institutions in underserved areas. Honorable members, a fragmented system will always produce fragmented outcomes. That's why we are developing the National MSME1 plan. We've hosted the LED Summit, which was attended by some of the members. With your permission, House Chairperson, I hereby present the department's budget allocation for the 26-27 financial year amounting to 3.036 billion rands. Of this amount, 2.154 billion is allocated to transfers and subsidies. 277.1 million is allocated to compensation of employees. 597.2 million is allocated to goods and services, and 7.8 million is allocated to capital expenditure. SIDFA receives 1.899 billion of the transfers and subsidies allocation. The budget vote reflects our commitment to measurable impact, ensuring that public resources translate into more supported businesses, more jobs created, and a transformed economy with higher levels of inclusion. As I'm about to exit the stage, allow me to remind honorable members, quoting from Charlotte Manyamakleke, who said, "This work is not for yourselves. Kill that spirit of self. Do not live above your people, but live with them. If you rise, lift others with you." Let's do the same for our entrepreneurs. They need the support starting from this house and every other family member. If we're to reclaim the economy of this country, we must all be united in tackling the challenges that are faced by entrepreneurs. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I will now recognize Honorable Dikhale.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Greetings to the Honorable Minister and the Deputy Minister of Small Business Development, honorable members and fellow South Africans. To achieve true economy liberation, we must deliberate, improve access to finance and technology infrastructure capabilities. This is the only way to help our micro, small and medium enterprise and cooperatives seize urgent opportunities for upscaling and innovation in niche sectors. It is widely understood that micro, small and medium enterprises are the undisputed engine room of the South African economy. Globally, small businesses account for nearly 70% of total employment. Here at home, our MSMEs contribute over 30% to our gross domestic product and sustain roughly 60% of all private sector jobs. As we advance economic transformation supporting our small businesses, informal traders, and cooperatives is not merely an economic choice. It is a national mandate to achieve a better life for all. Our strategic emphasis on the critical role of MSMEs arises from long-standing policy direction of the African National Congress. The ANC remains resolute in prioritizing labor-intensive investment that emphasize small businesses development. Our structural approach is guided by explicit policy resolutions designed to dismantle monopolies and unlock the economic potential of our people. Our 55th National Conference mandate effectively mandated the state to strengthen policies that addresses the historical lack of credit and capital access for women, youth, and black-owned enterprises. We are intentionally using state procurement and competition policy to challenge highly concentrated ownership patterns. The MSMEs and cooperatives funding policy, which was gazetted to eliminate ecosystem fragmentation, this framework unifies private and public sector financiers. It focuses heavily on blended finance solutions for unserved and underserved areas like our rural communities and townships. In line with our commitment to build a capable, efficient state and streamlining funding mechanisms, we successfully merged SEDA and CIFA into a single entity, the Small Enterprise Development and Finance Agency. In short, we call it SEDFA. This single window agency removes bureaucratic fragmentation, creating a smooth pathway for entrepreneurs to access financial and non-financial support under one roof. Honorable members, we acknowledge the feedback from our communities. For too long, entrepreneurs have faced a maze of complex loan requirements, high collateral hurdles, and restrictive municipal bylaws. The state is actively leading national dialogues to strip away local red tape and enforce the constitutional right to trade. Trading is a fundamental right, not a privilege. We are moving away from restrictive compliance to an enabling framework that includes movable asset registries, simplified legal winding up processes, and aggressive enforcement of the 30-day payment rule to protect small business cash flows. House Chairperson, we cannot build a prosperous South Africa if our township and rural economies remain marginalized. We call upon all government departments, municipalities, and private sector partners to implement the MSMEs and cooperatives funding policy framework completely. Let us fund our small businesses, reduce their regulatory burdens, and buy their products. When we support an MSME, we are not just funding a business, we are building a nation that works. We cannot talk about technological readiness without fixing the underlying financial infrastructure that isolates small businesses. The transformation of the financial sector by government is imperative. We must ensure comprehensive access to finance to accelerate the development of MSMEs and cooperatives. Our strategy moves beyond basic grants to build an integrated financial ecosystem. Expanding financial instrument, we are working directly through SEDFA and other state agencies to expand access to blending funding, micro loans, and other guarantees. With regard to protecting cash flows, we are aggressively enforcing the timely payment of small suppliers to maintain their revenue streams and healthy balance sheets. With regard to infrastructure support, we are scaling up the asset assist and business infrastructure support program to systematically boost both MSMEs and cooperatives. I can cite an example of Lakile Tswalo from Limpopo province who received help of assets through asset assists. And when we were doing oversight visit, we could notice that he received the help that he requested. With regard to township retail capital, we are accelerating the disbursement of the sponsorship fund with proper efficient due to diligence measures to protect public funds while unlocking local micro retail potential. And we call on the municipalities to make sure that they work and they assist the entrepreneurs with licenses for their businesses. Business licenses for the sponsorship, as of now, is a barrier. Honorable members, modernizing our township and rural businesses is an economic necessity. By blending financial transformation with technological infrastructure, we transition our cooperatives from survivalist entities into competitive, digitized industries. Let us approve and fund these infrastructure mandates to build an inclusive, modern economy. Honorable members, on behalf of the African National Congress, we want to state categorically that gone are the days where opportunities to establish businesses and to trade was a privilege for a few. We are breaking those barriers to create a thriving economy and a country that truly belongs to all with equal opportunities. As the ANC, we are unapologetic about our support for this budget vote. I thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Mafachane.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, and all officials in the House. The Umkhonto we Sizwe Party calls for a people-centered economy, one built not for elites and connected interest, but for township entrepreneurs, rural cooperatives, street traders, micro-enterprises, women, persons living with disabilities, and young people struggling daily under harsh economic condition. This budget votes 36 allocates significant resources towards MSMEs, cooperatives, and informal businesses. Over 6.9 billion will support financially and non-financial program, while expenditure rises from 2.9 billion in 2025-2026 to 3.3 billion in 2028-2029. Importantly, 71.7% of the budget is directed towards MSMEs support. Over 6 billion represent 63.3% of allocation will be transferred to SETFA, the Consolidated Small Business Support Agency, expected to provide financial, business support and digital service to township, rural and rural entrepreneurs program. However, honorable members, budgets must not only sound good on papers, they must change the lives of our people on the ground. As Umkhonto we Sizwe Party, we believe that township and rural economies are real engines of job creation and economic liberation. Yet these communities continue to suffer from lack of finances, collapsing infrastructure, exclusion from procurement opportunities, and over-regulation. We therefore call for this budget to decisively shift economic powers towards township, rural communities, and informal sectors, where the majority of our people live and trade. Honorable Chairperson, Program 3 allocates 533.7 million, which is meant to drive cooperative and micro-enterprise development. Yet, government admits that only 50 cooperatives will be supported, despite South Africa having more than 125,000 registered cooperatives. This is not progress, it is a policy failure. The reduction of asset assist allocation disadvantage struggling small business and informal traders, Honorable Minister. At a time where communities need support to survive and create jobs, government should be increasing support, not reducing it. The Umkhonto weSizwe Party further urges this government to adopt Umkhonto weSizwe Party Township and Economic Empowerment Bill to transform township economies through direct state intervention and increase township ownership, reduce unemployment, promote local ownership through quotas and licensing controls. History has shown that industrialization begins with small firms before expanding into large industries. Countries such as South Korea and Japan have built strong economies through state intervention, localization, and support for MSMEs integrated into industry's support chain. Across Africa, countries including Zimbabwe, Botswana, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, has reserved sectors of informal trading for their own citizens to protect livelihood for building local entrepreneurs. So it is not a big problem when South Africa seeks to protect this informal sector, informal transport services, informal trading, street trading, local manufacturing hubs, marketing vending, car washes, food stalls, and other township economies activity for our locals. We are merely protecting and transferring the economy back to our people. These sectors are survival economies for millions of poor South Africans and must be reserved. It must be served as entry point into ownership and economic participation for our people. Street trading, spaza shop, and key township economy activities must be unapologetically reserved for South African citizens by birth only. At the same time, these sectors must also be protected from domination by white monopoly capital interest that continues to manipulate pricing, monopolizes, and supply chains against ordinary people. The township economy cannot be a battlefield where poor South Africans are squeezed out by both cooperative monopolies and unfair market practices, while government stand by and watch. Chairperson, South Africa cannot grow while small businesses are suffocated by bureaucracy. Entrepreneurs still face delayed approvals, expensive compliance requirements, inconsistent municipal bylaws, and lack of access to finance. We therefore call upon the government to centralize and standardize municipal bylaws, reform supply chains to provide affordable bulk buying finance, invest in digital licensing and compliance system, enforce 30-day payments compliance across all departments and SOEs. Honorable members, Umkhonto weSizwe believes that economic inclusion cannot succeed without restoring fairness and order within the economy. Government fails to properly enforce immigration and business compliance law, undermining local businesses and creating unfair competition in vulnerable sectors. We therefore call for stricter enforcement of compliance requirements and propose an increase to the outdated minimum foreign business investment threshold of 5 million set in 2002 to 35 million in line with inflation and economic realities. This budget must become a budget for women, youth, and people living with disabilities. This group remain excluded from access to capital, digital skills, and markets. A portion of SETFA funding must therefore be directed specifically to youth-owned, women-owned, and persons living with disabilities enterprises. We must invest in township innovation hubs, fintech adoption, e-commerce platform, incubation programs, and export-ready SMEs if South Africa wishes to compete in the modern economy. In conclusion, Umkhonto weSizwe Party supports a developmental state that empowers communities, build local industries, support cooperative, and restore economic dignity to ordinary South Africans. But we cannot support this budget, Minister, that makes promises while failing to produce meaningful changes. We cannot support budget that reduces support for struggling businesses while unemployment continues to rise. We cannot support this budget
Honourable
that leaves
Mafara.
townships and rural
time is
economies on
expired.
the margins while economy inequality deepens.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Powell.
Honourable House Chairperson, the DA supports measures that genuinely make it easier for South Africans to start, grow and sustain businesses. We support reducing red tape, improving market access, expanding access to finance, and creating an enabling environment for entrepreneurs. Because behind every small business in this country is the relentless ferreting of an owner who has long stopped expecting help from government. So we must also be honest about why so many small businesses continue to fail. South Africa does not suffer from a shortage of plans, frameworks, strategies, advisory councils, or state entities. We suffer from a shortage of economic growth, institutional competence, and functional government. And nowhere is this more visible than in municipalities. The report before us contains an important admission. It notes that as of March this year, only 18,700 of approximately 81,000 spaza shops were fully licensed. That means that tens of thousands of entrepreneurs remained trapped in bureaucratic limbo, unable to access funding or formal support because municipalities cannot process applications effectively. This is a direct barrier to economic participation. The DA agrees that ease of doing business must become a key national priority. But unlike the ANC, we believe that the solution is not simply more bureaucracy. You see, the ANC's instinct is to centralize. The report repeatedly calls for more functions, more powers, more coordination mandates, more structures, and more state control within the department. Yet after more than a decade of this department existing as a standalone entity, the report itself admits that support remains fragmented, outcomes remain poorly measured, municipalities remain dysfunctional, and businesses overregulated. So we must ask an uncomfortable question. If a department dedicated entirely to small business development still cannot produce a coherent and measurable ease of doing business framework after 12 years, then why does this department exist? The truth is, this department shouldn't exist, but it does due to ANC largesse. The DA believes that government should stop trying to micromanage entrepreneurs and start removing the obstacles that stand in their way. It really is that simple. A DA government would focus relentlessly on reducing the cost, complexity, and time involved in doing business. A DA government would accelerate the rollout of one-stop shop opportunity centres where entrepreneurs can register businesses, interact with SARS, access licensing support, and obtain regulatory guidance through a single streamlined process. We would digitize and simplify permitting systems, particularly for informal traders and township entrepreneurs. We would implement e-registration systems for informal trading based on successful models already being used in DA-run governments like the City of Cape Town. We would introduce a comprehensive review of red tape across all spheres of government, including municipal bylaws, licensing requirements, procurement barriers, and overlapping regulations that suffocate small enterprises before they can even begin to start trading. And crucially, we would introduce genuine accountability. The DA would insist on measurable outcomes. How many businesses survived? How many jobs were created? How long did permits take to process? How much did compliance costs decrease? How many entrepreneurs successfully transitioned from informal survivalism into sustainable enterprise? Because essentially, these are the only metrics that matter. Honourable Chairperson, entrepreneurs do not ask government to build their businesses for them. They ask for functioning infrastructure, reliable electricity, safe streets, reasonable regulations, efficient government, and a state that gets out of their way. The DA believes that small business policy should be built around enabling growth, not micromanaging decline. Economic growth comes from trusting citizens, empowering entrepreneurs, reducing barriers to entry, and building capable governments that enable commerce instead of obstructing it. This is the approach that the DA will continue to champion in this ministry. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I will now recognize Honourable Matulela.
Commander-in-Chief, Commissars and Fighters, Honorable Chairperson, the economic freedom fighters rises to reject the illusion that this budget will meaningfully transform the lives of the majority of our people. While the department speaks the language of integration, innovation and entrepreneurship, the reality on the ground is that people in townships and rural communities remain locked out of the genuine economic participation. The so-called support for MSMEs is overstated. Ingxelo malunga nesebe lezempilo leMpuma Koloni zibonise ukuba malunga neenkampani ezingu-50 ezibonalela ngeenkonzo ezibalulekileyo kwizibhedlele bezingekahlawulwa, Minister. Ezinye zazo zilinde inyanga okanye iminyaka ukuze zifumane inhlawulo zazo. Enye ingxelo yathi ubuncinane ikontraka ezingu-40 ezibonelela ngeenkonzo zempilo zazityalwa malunga ne-600 million rand. Amaxwebhu kanondyebo wephondo leMpuma Koloni aqinisekise ukuba omabini amasebe ezempilo nezemfundo aqalise inkqubo zokuchonga inani nobungakanani bababoneleli benkonzo abangekahlawulwa, nto leyo ebonisa ukungathotyelwa ngokubanzi ngomgaqo wokuhlawulwa zingaphelanga iintsuku eziyi-30. Ngo-2024 kuye kwaxelwa ukuba isebe lezempilo leMpuma Koloni lodwa lalityala ababoneleli ngezenkonzo imali emalunga ne-4.8 billion rand. The EFF is deeply concerned about the failure to prioritize cooperatives. Out of more than 125,000 registered cooperatives, only 50 will be supported this year, according to your report, Minister. This is not merely inadequate. It is an insult to the principle of collective ownership and to the millions of poor and working class people who could use cooperatives to build local economies, create jobs, produce goods, and reduce dependence on big businesses. The issue of red tape also remains unresolved. The department speaks about reducing bureaucracy, yet the report itself admits that some indicators are unclear, poorly defined, and incapable for properly measuring progress. Minister, you cannot claim to resolve red tape when you cannot even define it, measure it, or prove whether the lives of small businesses owners are actually improving. There is also no serious commitment to transformation through procurement. A budget that does not decisively redirect state procurement towards black-owned youth, owned women, owned township and rural enterprises will simply produce the same patterns of exclusion. Without the aggressive implementation of the Public Procurement Act in favor of the historically excluded businesses, this budget will continue to recycle inequality while pretending to support transformation. I-EFF ibiloko iphikisa ngokuqinile ukuthi umbuso kumele ube yinjini enkulu yokuguqulwa komnotho. Lokhu kusho ukuthi kube khona uxhaso oluqondiswa ngqo. Umbuso oluya emabhizinisini asemalokishini nasezindaweni zasemakhaya. Kubekwe imigomo ephoqelelayo yokuthengwa kwezimpahla nezinsizakalo kumabhizinisi amancane aphethwe ngabantu abamnyama. Kuvikelwe ukuthi kwenziwe ngokusemthethweni ukwakha kwamabhizinisi angalahlekeli ngokusemthethweni, informal traders. Futhi kwandiswe ngamandla ama-cooperative njengamathuluzi obunikazi bomphakathi. Ukuhlakazeka kokweseka kwamabhizinisi amancane phakathi kweminyango kahulumeni kuwukwehluleka kwentando yepolitiki. Umnyango awukwazi ukuhlanganisa lokho ongakulawuli. Ekugcineni le budget iqhubekisela phambili isimo esikhona njengamanje. Ayibhekani nokungalingani okuhlelekile emphakathini. Ayikuqedi ukuvalelwa ngaphandle kwezemnotho. Ukuba le department ayinikwa zonke ibudget ezibhekene nosomashishini abakhasayo mayivalwe. Chairperson, the EFF rejects this budget because it lacks agency, ambition, and the concrete plan to place small businesses, cooperatives, informal traders at the center of the economic reconstruction. A department that speaks about entrepreneurship while thousands of service providers remain unpaid by the state cannot be trusted to lead real transformation. We therefore call for the decisive intervention to ensure that every service provider across South Africa in all sectors is paid within legal
Honorable
required
Matulela,
30
your time
30
has
days
expired.
period. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. I'll now recognize the Honorable Nkosi Chuli.
Thank you, Chair. The IFP recognizing the critical role that small businesses, cooperatives, informal traders, and the township enterprises play in driving economic growth and job creation in South Africa. At the time when the unemployment continues to devastate millions of the household, especially amongst the youth, small enterprise remains one of the few realistic pathways towards the economy participation and self-reliance. The small business enterprises in our country faces a difficult economic climate, and there is an urgent need to reduce the red tape, strengthen the institutional coordination, and increasing support for the township and rural enterprises. However, we believe that government support remains fragmented, overly bureaucratic and disconnected from the real facing ordinary entrepreneurs. Its been observed that small business support service and budget remains scattered across the difficult departments and spheres of the government, resulting in a duplication, inefficient, and confusing for entrepreneurs seeking support. We agreed that the government must urgently centralize and streamline support mechanism for such small businesses and not enforce to navigate a maze of the institutions simple to access assistance. We are particularly concerned about the barriers facing cooperatives and informal traders. Funding application processes remains excessively bureaucratic and difficult for rural and township cooperatives to navigate. Many emergent businesses simply not possess the financial records, compliance, documents, and technically capacity demanding by the government programs. The government cannot claim to support entrepreneurship with administrative efficiencies, continues to suffocate small businesses because before they can even begin open operation. The further welcome efforts to improve market access through procurement opportunities for small enterprises. However, there is an intervention must be produce measurable outcomes. Support programs cannot merely count how many people attend training access while failing to measure whether the businesses survive growth and create sustainable employment. South Africa does not lack of entrepreneurial talent. What our people need is an
Honorable
enabling.
Nkosi, your time is expired. Sorry. I will now recognize Honorable Peters.
Thank you, House Chair, Honorable Minister and Honorable Members. Small businesses are not just part of the economy, they are the economy of our communities, in townships, rural villages, and informal settlements. Small enterprises are the source of survival for many families. They create jobs where government has failed, and they provide hope where poverty continues to deepen. Yet despite this important role, many small businesses continue to struggle to survive. Entrepreneurs are still facing major barriers when trying to access funding. The systems are often too complicated, too slow, and too disconnected from the realities of informal traders and emerging businesses. Many young people with innovative ideas are unable to secure financial support because they lack collateral networks or administrative capacity. Our people are not living in policy documents. They are living in communities where unemployment remains high, small businesses are struggling, and poor communities continue to suffer because of weak enforcement and poor regulation. The report itself highlights concerns such as weak performance indicators, fragmented support systems, and limited accountability. The PA believes government cannot continue measuring success only by the number of meetings held or plans drafted while communities see little real improvement. We must measure how many businesses survive, how many permanent jobs are created, and whether communities are seeing real economic growth. Honorable members, the Patriotic Alliance is also deeply concerned about reports of expired and unsafe food being sold in working class communities such as Rege Park, Eldorado Park, and Gelukstown. No business should be allowed to profit from selling unsafe food to poor communities. This is a health issue, a dignity issue, and a governance issue. The PA therefore supports stronger inspections, better law enforcement, and stricter consequences for businesses that place profit above the safety of our communities. South Africans do not need more beautifully written plans. They need functioning support systems, fair opportunities, safer communities, and government programs that produce measurable results. The Patriotic Alliance supports this budget, but we will continue to demand accountability, measurable delivery, and real economic impact for ordinary South Africans. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Ngobeni.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. Members, as South Africa prepares to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the June 16 uprising next month, we must ask ourselves a painful question. What freedom do young people have when they remain locked out of the economy? The youth of 1976 fought for dignity, opportunity, and a future. Yet 50 years later, millions of South Africans still wake up every morning without jobs, without opportunities, and without a clear path into the economy. Therefore, Vote 36 is not simply an administrative vote, it is a jobs vote. It is a dignity vote. And in a country where the youth unemployment remains amongst the worst in the world, small business development cannot be treated as a side issue in the government. It is one of the few practical levers we have to fight poverty, unlock growth, and create work at scale. The committee report raises several important concerns. It correctly recognizes that APPs must be living documents, not paper exercises designed to tick boxes while communities see no change. It also calls for a government to address the fragmentation of small business support across departments, to open procurement opportunities properly to small enterprises and cooperatives, and to reduce the ever-moving issue of red tape that continues to suffocate entrepreneurs. But the real test is not whether the department can produce better plans. The real test is whether ordinary South Africans actually feel the difference. Because right now, too many young people are excluded from the economy before they even begin. Minister, young people are told to hustle. But the moment they try, they are met with a system that blocks them at every turn. There's slow licensing, impossible compliance burdens, procurement systems designed for insiders, and layers of bureaucracy that favor the connected and the established over ordinary entrepreneurs trying to survive. Government tells young people to hustle while government itself stands in their way. And in many communities, the danger goes even deeper than poverty. It becomes a matter of survival. We have seen the tragic kidnapping of Mazwi Kubeka, a painful reminder that many small business owners operate in environments plagued by criminality, extortion, and lawlessness. Small business owners are not only fighting bureaucracy, in many cases they are fighting fear itself. And a government that is serious about supporting entrepreneurs must also ensure that they are protected, because no young person should have to risk their lives simply for trying to build a business and provide for their families. That is why this report's findings on spaza shops is so important. Municipal delays in issuing licenses are not a minor administrative inconvenience. It is a direct attack on economic survival in townships, informal settlements, and this report notes that by March this year, fewer than 19,000 of nearly 81,000 registered spaza establishments had fully been licensed. And so this is why a campaign that we call Spaza for Locals matters, Minister. And so as Action SA, we will support this budget because we support the fact that small businesses, particularly that are South African owned, must be supported and supported properly, not just by speaking. And we are hoping, Minister, that the issue of compliance and the issue of the multidisciplinary effort to ensure that compliance is adhered to at every level, the capital investment can happen and that the spaza mafia can be dealt with. We are hoping, Minister, that this department will make major strides in making that happen. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will now recognize the Honorable Deputy Minister of Small Business Development.
Thank you, House Chair. Greetings to the House and all protocol observed. On the 4th of November, South Africans have the opportunity to choose local policies that will shape their lives for the next 5 years. If we are serious about supporting medium, small, micro enterprises and the informal economy, we must put red tape reduction at the heart of every local government's agenda. It's time to stop speaking about red tape reduction as a slogan and start implementing it as a measurable government responsibility. House Chair, allow me to table 4 red tape reduction reforms every government department, government agency, and local government should implement. The ease of doing business must become a performance target to every government agency and municipality. It cannot be that applications pile up in someone's office for 2 years without any consequence. Municipal managers and government officials should be measured on clear turnaround times when it comes to trading permits, business licenses, rezoning, land use approvals, informal trading applications, complaints resolved, and supplier payment performance. House Chair, this does not require a new legislation. It requires political will. A will to take action in the best interest of our small businesses. A national municipal red tape scorecard with public dashboards would show which government agencies and which municipalities are enabling small businesses and which ones are holding them back. We cannot keep on pointing a finger at everyone else but ourselves when implementation fails. Small business development is our business. The national portal red tape must also be established. House Chair, this department must launch a national red tape portal that's just talking about red tape reduction while creating more red tape with more regulations, more strategies, more bills, more policies, more frameworks. Isn't helping small businesses. And this must be supported by municipal red tape hotlines. Small businesses must be able to report unnecessary permits. Small businesses must be able to report duplicated forms, harassment, conflicting bylaws, delays, corrupt officials and politicians. Municipalities cannot repeal outdated laws if they do not know which regulations are suffocating entrepreneurs. House Chair, number 3, we must take support where businesses are, not where the cameras are. Mobile business support units must be rolled out in townships and rural areas and informal trading spaces. SETFA and municipal support services cannot remain inaccessible to the very entrepreneurs they are meant to serve. We cannot speak about economic inclusion while informal traders remain locked out of the system. That is not economic inclusion, it's economic sabotage. And thirdly, House Chair, government must pay suppliers on time. This 30-day payment must be treated as a strategic economic intervention, not just a compliance checkbox. Late payments destroys business faster than funding or lack of funding could ever do. As a department, we must lead a national pay small business first model with automatic escalation systems, penalties for persistent late payments, and public reporting of municipal payments performance. It is not nearly enough to just say our department paid suppliers within 30 days, so the rest of government is not our responsibility. That type of narrow and silo mentality has already cost many small businesses their survival. House Chair, cutting red tape in real time means putting a laser focus where it matters most. The time for rhetoric is over. Small businesses do not need another promise. They don't need another legislation. They don't need another bill. They don't need another policy. They don't need another strategy. They don't need another regulation. They don't need another framework. They need permits processed. They need their permits processed when they go to where this permits needs to be obtained. They need their invoices paid. They need bylaws simplified. They need to support they need the support brought closer to where they operate. Honorable Chair and honorable members, we have a responsibility to create conditions where small businesses are not merely surviving, but are empowered to grow and succeed, not just for a connected few, but for very entrepreneur with potential. It is time to stop talking about red tape reduction and
Honorable
start
members,
delivering it.
honorable
Because
members.
small businesses need action, not promises.
Honorable
And we will
Matulela,
continue
Honorable
to put small
Deputy
businesses
Minister,
in the front line
Honorable
without
Deputy
any
Minister.
fear or favor. I thank you.
Lo Deputy Minister akathobeli kwalo chairperson.
I have been calling out Honorable Deputy Minister because there was a hand. I wanted to recognize the hand before you leave the podium. Yes, that is why I
must
was
come
calling
She must come back.
you that you must then pause so that we take the point of order out. Please, you don't have time, but I'll give you 5 seconds.
Please.
Come back. Because I have been calling out the Honorable Deputy Minister to pause so that I take a hand of an honorable member and then we take that point of order and then we continue. Because there was a point of order while you were on the podium. Yes. I'll use my privilege. I'll give you the 10 seconds. Yes.
Chair.
Honorable Deputy
On a
Minister,
point of order, Chair.
you are requested by me.
She must resign mos, as a Deputy Minister.
Honorable member, please. Honorable Deputy Minister. No, don't direct me how to direct this house. I am using my discretion to call you back on the podium. And I am requesting you that you do so.
And
I
she
don't
must
want
go
any
out.
engagement,
The
Honorable
bouncers
Deputy
must take her
Minister.
out if he doesn't.
Please, can you come back? Because it might be maybe something that we must rule upon now in this budget vote. And according to the rules, we cannot defer any ruling on the budget vote. It must be ruled upon on this house. So that is why I am asking you to come back to the podium so that we take the point of order and we hear what it is and then we'll rule upon that so that we proceed with the business of the day.
Honorable House Chair.
I did not
with
give you
all
an
due
opportunity
respect,
to speak. Can you please mute your mic?
I'm no longer on the podium.
Honorable Deputy Minister, I'm asking you to come back to the podium. And I am now
I know the
questioning
rules
you.
as
I am
well.
firstly now
I'm no
questioning
longer on
you.
the podium. I've left the podium.
Honorable Deputy Minister, I am asking you to come back to the podium. Because if there is a matter that needs any ruling, then it will need us to rule upon it now. And it is not, Honorable Deputy Minister, I have been calling out that Honorable Deputy Minister, Honorable Deputy, but you did not listen to me, you kept on speaking. Exactly, then I'm offering you an opportunity now to come back to the podium because you are saying you did not hear me. So I am offering you that opportunity to come back to the podium and then we take the point of order that has been raised and then we proceed with the business of the day. And if you are not willing to do so, then I will request the Honorable Deputy Minister to leave the chamber. If you do not want to come to the podium, I will request you to leave.
Honorable House Chair, House Chairperson,
Honorable members, please.
House Chair. House Chair,
I'm
we've
still
been
dealing
raising
with
our
this
hands.
issue now.
She must go and resign.
Honorable Ngobeni, honorable members, please.
Honorable
Honorable
House Chair.
Ngobeni. No, honorable members.
House Chair.
Honorable members, please.
They mustn't even
Honorable
bow, Chair.
Ngobeni.
Thank you. I'm waiting for the delinquent to leave. Honorable House Chair.
Honorable members, can I take the hand, please?
Honorable House Chair, this meeting must record what just happened. It must record it because you have got an accounting officer who is a deputy minister. Of course, this is the mini plenary. She can say whatever that she wants to say, and she can campaign as much as she wants to campaign. But the members are raising concerns because she is an executive in that office. And this is why we are calling for deputy ministers to be abolished, because this is ridiculous. And when Honorable Matulela was raising her point of order, you kept on calling her name. And so I was looking at her face, she was laughing at Honorable Matulela, and she wanted to finish her speech because she was at the end of that thing, and then she walked back to her desk. And this is actually what we are talking about in terms of, first of all, GNU disaster, and also the fact that they're also always putting us in the middle of their disrespect and their issues. Members in this committee are proper members of this committee. And if they're raising their hands, the so-called people who say we abide by the rule of law, they must abide, this particular minister must be held in contempt of this particular meeting and of disobeying your ruling as the House Chairperson. Let this meeting recognize that. And we hope that the minister, when you have your one-on-ones with your deputy, please let her know, you've been in parliament for a long time, must let her know how to behave. When points of order are raised, she must sit down and not disrespect the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ngobeni. I will definitely have a report that will be submitted so that we deal with the issue at hand. And Honorable Matulela, you will now not get an opportunity then to maybe say your point of order, but I don't know if you still want to raise that point of order, and then we take it and then we proceed.
Ndiyabulela kakhulu, Chairperson, for record purposes as well. We wanted to call her in order because she was out of order to criticize what she should have done. Yes. Meaning she is deliberately not delivering services to small businesses because she wants to come here and grandstand, and our people are struggling out there. So, Chairperson, I also, as the record that the EFF is also requesting that this deputy minister must resign with immediate effect. If he doesn't resign, the salaries must be taken away from her and be given 3 months salary to those entrepreneurs. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Matulela. We will definitely have the report written. In terms of the resignation, then it doesn't rely honestly on this house. But I would, honorable members, love that we now proceed with the business of the day. I will now call upon Honorable Sapo.
Chair, if I may find, Chair, why the
Honorable
member of the
Mkhalipi?
DA is still here because his colleagues has walked out.
No,
with the
Honorable
deputy
Mkhalipi, no.
I'm just
We are
curious.
out of order. He is here because he's a member of this house. And he then decides that he wants to be part of this debate.
Okay, Chair,
Honorable
no, I
Sapo.
understand. The center is not holding there.
Thank you very
Chairperson,
much,
she must withdraw.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I have never seen such a useless deputy minister in my life.
Honorable Sapo.
As we draw,
Honorable Sapo, can you please withdraw the word useless? We are not allowed to use, it is unparliamentary to say a member of the house is useless.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I have never seen such an
No, please
inefficient
withdraw
deputy
first.
minister in
I
my
want you
life.
to withdraw first before you continue with undeserving or
I withdraw, Chair.
thank you.
Honorable Chair, as we draw closer to the commemoration of the Youth Month, I stand here representing a hopeless and a frustrated young person who lives in deep rural areas of the Eastern Cape, who has not only lost hope of finding a permanent employment, but who has also lost hope in finding opportunities to develop her business ideas because of complex government systems. I agree with you, Honorable Minister. We cannot talk about true freedom while the majority of young people and women remain locked out of mainstream economy. The African National Congress has lost maintain that small businesses are not mere survivalist initiatives. They are the primary engines of job creation, inclusive economic transformation, and community resilience. And this is what the Democratic Alliance hate. Our core task today is to accelerate the economic liberation of our people by providing enough support for MSMEs and cooperatives. It is for that reason that we advocate for a deliberate and intentional focus to be given to businesses established by women and youth in townships and rural areas. Honorable Minister, we welcome the allocation set aside for Youth Challenge Fund and Women Fund. Investing in a woman and youth in our townships and rural areas is not a social welfare program. It is a practical, strategic economic investment in the future of South Africa. When we empower a woman or a young entrepreneur in a village, we are building a sustainable enterprise, creating a local jobs and guarantee real economic growth. And this is what the DA hates. Our path is guided by a clear political mandate. The ANC 55th National Conference resolution demands the radical revitalization of the township and rural economy. As the ANC will welcome the allocated funds directed to township and rural entrepreneurship program. This will assist us to systematically dismantle the structural exclusion of apartheid spatial planning. And this is what the DA hates. Our townships and villages are not just zones of consumption. They are striving hubs of production and innovation. Through collaborative initiatives with other government departments, old and abandoned factories such as Dimbaza Industrial Parks in Buffalo City are being converted into booming township clusters, and this is what the DA hates. These spaces are now occupied by local youth manufacturing clothing, furniture, and consumer electricity. Our black entrepreneurs are benefiting, and jobs are created. And this is what the DA hates. Honorable Chair, as the ANC, we call for the strengthening of the cooperative support programs. While we are happy with the targets set for this financial year, we will be more happy when these targets are achieved. During our oversight visit, we were exposed to some women-led agricultural cooperatives. These cooperatives are surpassing incubation and production targets. They are moving from basic farming into advanced agro-processing, securing supply chain directly in major national retail supermarket. This is worth to be supported, nurtured, and expanded. Honorable Minister, we don't doubt your capacity to implement these programs. You have a capable Director General, supported by fairly young DDGs, whom we seem to have willingness and passion for the growth of development of small businesses. When young minds are given an opportunity to be at the helm of the decision making, we expect to see a difference. MSMEs is the only sector that is capable to create massive jobs. Let them not fail. As the ANC, we support this budget. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Mishwe from the virtual platform.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable members, the ACDP notes the allocation of 3.12 billion rands to small business development in the 2026-27 estimates of national expenditure. This is a significant amount, but the Portfolio Committee has warned that the new CETFA agency must not hide persisting problems. The ACDP said last year that the Asset Assist program was failing, and the department relaunched it later last year, but the immense 1 trillion SMME credit gap is still not solved, where neither beneficiaries nor impacts are clearly accounted for. The department must exercise proper oversight and secure effective stewardship of this program, or it will remain another failed intervention. The claim that about 165,000 SMMEs were supported is still not clear, and many question if the numbers are true, whether they reflect genuine, sustained support rather than just overlapping registrations. The committee has asked the department to cut red tape and make things easier for business, particularly small business, with which we heartily agree. But entrepreneurs still face too much form filling and delays. There are over 140,000 spaza shops and informal outlets that are valued at a staggering 200 billion rands annually, employing millions of people and growing faster than supermarkets, yet just 6% of spaza shops are believed to be owned by South Africans. Spaza shop ownership for South Africans is surely the heart of small business development. Yet, despite new digital mapping initiatives to digitize and monitor the spaza shop sector, it still leaves Parliament without the ownership data needed for proper oversight. The ACDP repeatedly urges government to exercise proper recording oversight. When statistics are lacking, comparative analysis is impossible and accountability by Parliament is undermined. For the ACDP, we care greatly about small businesses. It's not only about money, it's about kingdom building, giving families work, restoring dignity, and showing justice and stewardship in our economy. Lastly, the ACDP urges government to emulate what countries such as Botswana and Zimbabwe have done by reserving some economic sectors such as street trading and spaza shop ownership to local citizens, which we believe will greatly help to reduce high unemployment we are facing in our country. The ACDP further calls on government to introduce more health inspectors to ensure that those who rely on spaza shops, particularly in the townships, have access to clean, healthy food. Shops that sell expired food should be banned. They should lose their licenses. Otherwise, fines are not working because those with money will pay the fine and continue selling expired foods and rotten food to our people. We love our people, we love their health, and government must
Honorable
do more to
Mishwe.
protect them.
Your time has expired.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. I will now recognize Honorable Kwankwa on the virtual platform.
Enkosi House Chair, Minister, bekhe nagcwala isiganga apha eMzantsi Afrika nisithi nibhalisa ezi spaza shops kuba nisithi emva kuba zazityise abantwana nabantu bethu ukutya okubolileyo kunuka engaziwa noba kuvela phi neengutya zabo ezenziwa ngasemva emizini ungayazi uba bebevela phi ezi ingredients akubhatalwa tax kukwaxhele yakhe akabuzwa kule nto ke ngoku ingu-60% kuphela i-estimate ebekwayo officially ngabantu neengcungela zabantu abane spaza shops eMzantsi Afrika. Le mali beniyibeka bucala nisithi nizawuxhasa ngayo izpaza shops iye kobani xa ufumanisa ukuthi uninzi labo ayingobantu baseMzantsi Afrika. Basahleli ntoni abantu abangene ngokungekho mthethweni besenza amashishini ezispaza shops ubheka komagugu lethu ubheka kobente semdantsane izolo apho ungena khona kwezi spaza shops uthengiswa ngamaSomalia alala kwaphanga phakathi nabanye abantu abasuka kwezinye indawo bethengisa ukutya okungekho ongazaziyo noba magama abo avela phi na kuyafuneka ukuthi le registration process iqatshelwe kuqinisekwe shishini libheke ebantwini bakuthi abamnyama kuba ingxaki esinayo le mali siyayifaka phana as a stimulus package siyaphinda kakhona sinika abantu social grants ihambe iyothenga i-counterfeit goods ithathwe la mali ingakhange ingene kwi-South African economy ithunyelwe as remittances to other parts of countries on the continent, which then becomes a problem because ithetha ukuthi i-township economies zawusoloko ziqhwalela ngalo lonke ixesha. Sayithatha nangoku ukuthi i-treasury norhulumente akakwazi umane enika isheleni leni inikwayo 3 billion rands kule budget yale department, kodwa kwakuthiwe i-funding efunwayo for small businesses esine-funding gap yayo is 350 billion rands. Now if you look at le mali izawungena kwezi entities zenu izawufika nje phana ifane nethonsi kwisidingo esininzi. Kufanele kufakwe ne-private sector isondele ngakumbi izokwazi uqinisekisa ukuthi abantu osomashishini bazifumana imali xa behambe beyoapply. Singakhange sibe ne-state bank ukuhoya into ye-development eMzantsi Afrika, abantu bethu bazawumane bengqiba bephoxwa zezi banks ezingasoze zibakhathalele ukuba zinaxesha labo zileqeka emva kwe-profit motive. Lastly, kuyafuneka rhoqo iqwalaselwe le nto yezi departments ukuthi ziyazibhatala namashishini ngakumbi amancinci ngethuba. Ndikhumbula kwenye ibudget vote nanizigobha amacala nicela uthekwana nisithi nina nibahlawulo somashishini ngakumbi abancinci nabasakhasayo kwangethuba. Sisithi kubalulekile uqiniseka ukuthi rhoqo kuyajonga ukuthi urhulumente owonke uqhuba njani nakwesi sikoko kuba urhulumente uyazibulala ibusinesses ngongabhatali ngethuba. Xa ndisithi urhulumente wonke ndithetha nomasipala nakakade. Enkosi.
Siyabonga. I will now recognize Honorable Kana.
Nakhensa mthomashitulu asithi no sihlalo abafana bazobuya nayo eMbombela Saturday bazobuya nayo eMbombela Saturday. Minister, for every spaza shop that is owned by a foreign national, there's a South African involved and there's a South African who benefits. Rise Mzansi believes that small businesses are not a side issue in our economy. They are the economy of millions of South Africans. As I said, that when we look at the spaza shop space and the industry, we must also look at the South Africans who benefit from that. Because there are South Africans who have become landlords, renting out their garages, their old shops, and space to survive the rising cost of living. When we reduce this debate on spaza shops into slogans instead of facing the economic realities, then there are South Africans that we end up not seeing. Because many South Africans have turned their properties into sources of income because unemployment is high and the opportunities are limited. For ourselves as Rise Mzansi, we believe that this form of township enterprise and income generation must be recognized, must be supported and developed further. We have a new generation of black property owners who receive rental income and they deserve the support. The second issue that I want to raise, Minister, is that is the funding of small businesses. So there's over 2 billion rand that is set aside to support small enterprises through both financial and non-financial means. But we must ask a question whether this money is producing the scale of jobs our people desperately need. The current funding model is too narrow, too rigid, and often disconnected from the realities of entrepreneurship in South Africa. There are thousands of South Africans in the middle class with side hustles and growing enterprises, teachers selling products online, young professionals running tech companies after hours to supplement their income and keep up with the cost of living. Yet many of these businesses are overlooked because they do not fit the traditional profile of who government thinks an entrepreneur or a small business owner who has to be supported should be. Rise Mzansi believes that these are exactly the kind of enterprises we should be backing because they are more likely to grow, become sustainable, and create the much-needed jobs over time. The lending programs also require urgent reform. The loan amounts are often too small to meaningfully scale a business, while the repayment obligations begin before businesses have properly stabilized. And if we are serious about building a new class of entrepreneurs and small business owners, we must fundamentally rethink the model of small business funding and lending investment.
Thank you. Of course. Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I will now recognize any member from BOSA.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. One of South Africa's most urgent needs is the creation of millions of new jobs. And the Department of Small Business Development sits at the center of this mission. And the NDP itself recognizes this because it set a target that by 2030, 90% of all new jobs in South Africa should be created by SMMEs. Yet, the department that's tasked with driving that vision remains trapped. It's trapped between fragmentation, it's trapped in underfunding and in poor execution in the main. BOS has previously argued that small business supports can't remain fragmented across the government. We need stronger alignment with the DTIC, because that's necessary so that industrial policy and SMME development work together coherently. But if you have that structural alignment even, and you don't have the meaningful investment, it still won't actually solve the crisis. Today, the department's budget is just 3 billion. And that's approximately 0.12% of the national budget. So what that means is that every 100 rand that government spends, only 12 cents goes towards supporting the very businesses that we're expecting to create jobs and create employment in this country. Secondly, the department is failing to produce durable outcomes or sustainable outcomes. South Africa lost 345,000 jobs in the first 90 days of 2026. Yet, when you look at the department's APP, it still measures too many easy outputs and tick boxes and not meaningful outcomes. The focus remains on counting workshops, interventions, and instead of actually measuring how many businesses do we have that survive, how many scale, and how many industrialize and ultimately create long-term jobs. So we need businesses that survive. We need businesses that grow. We need businesses that employ less than we need conferences and pilot projects, etc. Thirdly, there's a crisis of imagination and execution. In this ANC-DA-run ministry, and I think we must remind the Deputy Minister that it is an ANC-DA-run ministry. She is part of the ministry. It continues to speak about inclusive growth, but it maintains apartheid spatial economy in practice. Townships are still treated as places for survivalist activity instead of sites for industrialization and investment. And that's why we reiterate our call for townships to be declared special economic zones. South Africa only has a dozen designated special economic zones, 10 are fully operational, and none of those are meaningfully located within township economies themselves. That's compared to countries in Africa that have 30, 70 special economic zones. We've built SEZs around ports, freight corridors, sure, but not around people, certainly not around a township economy, which was previously excluded and remains survivalist in nature. We need a growth economy, and until this government becomes serious about scaling entrepreneurship into mass employment, it will continue to fail the people of South
Honorable
Africa.
Webster.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a member from the ATM? Any member from UAT? Any member from Al Jama? I will now recognize the Honorable Poshoff.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I don't think I'll need my full 3 minutes, although I should be entitled to 4. There it's right now. Thank you. It's good to make sure that you have what you are entitled to. This department uses about 3 billion rand from the national budget. And I try to compare what this department has to do with what the Department of Trade and Industry has to do. And while I can concur with each and every objective of this department, I cannot see why it is a department on its own. I cannot see what that it has to do cannot be done by the Department of Trade and Industry. What happens is that something like 300 million rand is used in the administration, which could just have as well as fallen away and be given to the real work of the department, and that is excluding the cost of having a minister and the deputy minister and everything related to that. So it seems to me that this department is actually more a provider of jobs for well-connected cadres than for the youth to which it is meant. And of course, there must be many very able, very competent officials working in this department. And they would be employed in, let's say, the IDC or the Department of Trade and Industry or whichever institution of the state. It seems to me that as much as our government says it wants to stop working in silos, as much it creates new silos. It's not quite comprehensible to me. And with that, I'll save you 2 minutes. I'm not sure about the monetary worth of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Poshov. Is there a member from NCC? PAC? Good. Honorable Kruger?
Chairperson, just before I start with my speech, the DA wants this House just to note that procedures were not followed when the Chair demanded them to leave the House. Also, we want to put on record that the member of the EFF point of order was not a point of order but a political statement. Voorzitter,
Chairperson, point of order.
Honorable Kruger, can you please sit?
Honorable Chair. Honorable Kruger.
No, I have not recognized you,
sorry.
Honorable Ngobeni. I wanted to start this side first, Honorable Member.
Honorable House Chair, thank you very much for affording me this opportunity. I would like to request the Honorable Kruger to withdraw his statement because the Honorable Member from the EFF did not say anything. She didn't say anything, and the Honorable Minister kept on debating without listening to what he wanted to say. She was out of order, and now the Honorable Kruger is following. We cannot be abused by the DA. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Members, I'm going to request that my ruling was final and it is not up for debate. And I do think that in whatever speech that you had prepared, you did not make an assumption that there will be such a ruling and then you want to get into that debate. Can we please proceed with the speeches of the budget vote and not enter into the ruling of the presiding officer?
Thank you, Voorzitter. Baie dankie, Voorzitter. Today we debate, you must just check my time, Chair. Today we debate the vote 36 while South Africa continues losing jobs, businesses and investor confidence. More than 340,000 jobs were lost in the first quarter alone. The reason for this is that entrepreneurs are forced to operate in an ecosystem drowning in red tape, collapsing infrastructure, and rising the cost of doing business. The Department of Small Business Development needs to do more support of MSMEs. The department is supposed to protect entrepreneurs, but has become too expensive, too slow, and too bureaucratic. Ms. Chabalala, Minister, we also go on the ground levels and talk to people. Ms. Chabalala, a spaza shop owner in Mpumalanga, does not wake up worrying about running a business theory. She worries about municipal permits, electricity outages, water interruptions, license applications, compliance costs, and broken roads in municipalities that simply do not function. The department speaks about reducing red tape, but the committee has been waiting nearly 2 years for a meaningful red tape framework with a reform framework with measurable targets. Instead, we receive vague indicators and empty promises, slogans without measurement, promises without implementation, and strategies without accountability. Sover as die 5de parlement terug, het die DA herhaaldelik werkbare oplossings voorgestel om romslomp te verminder. Maar ANC-kaders het telkens werklike hervorming doodgeboelie. The Small Enterprise Ombud process is a perfect example of this. The Ombud should protect small businesses against unfair treatment and excessive bureaucracy. Instead, the process became trapped in ANC politics and bullying tactics. When institutions are meant to serve entrepreneurs, they become battlegrounds for political control. How can small businesses trust government systems when even parliamentary oversight processes become political manipulated? The DA is concerned why the APP and budget items were changed at the last hour after the committee had already approved the report. The Department of Small Business Development must focus more on strategic planning to avoid this type of late submissions. Budgets are shifted, prioritized were changed, risks suddenly appeared, and frontline MSME support programs were quietly reduced. But perhaps the most shocking revelation is this. While small businesses across South Africa were struggling to survive, the budget of the Minister's Office alone was increased by 4.7 million rand in the revised APP. At the same time, funding for direct enterprise support programs was reduced and enterprise development was cut. How does a department responsible for supporting entrepreneurs submit an APP that was apparently not properly aligned in the first place? Why are administration and executive functions being prioritized while township and rural businesses face collapsing local government and rising red tape? This revised APP exposes a department increasingly focused on managing itself instead of creating an ecosystem where small businesses can survive, grow and create jobs. Voorsitter, sonder kontantvloei kan klein entrepreneurs dood eenvoudig nie die mas opkom nie. Elke ekstra permit, elke ekstra vorm wat ingevul moet word, elke munisipale ry waarin gestaan moet word, word dood eenvoudig 'n ekstra las wat oorlewing nie halter. And while red tape delays entrepreneurs, the cost of doing business keeps increasing. I echo the Deputy Minister when she say we must reduce compliance cost. We must simplify registration. We must enforce 30-day payments and must implement measurable red tape reduction targets across all spheres of government. Die ANC praat voortdurend. Luister and you will learn. Luister. The ANC praat voortdurend van transformatie.
Honorable members, can we please not drown the speaker? Continue, Honorable Kruger.
Listen, then you will learn. All right. Die ANC praat voortdurend van transformasie, maar waar ware transformasie gebeur wanneer entrepreneurs die vryheid het om besighede te vestig sonder om oor die skouer na die regering te loer en sonder om deur romslomp versmoor te raak. The DA will continue fighting for South Africa where entrepreneurs spend more time building their business than fighting bureaucracy. Dankie, Chair.
Thank you very much. I will now recognize Honorable Malimaja.
Thank you very much, House Chair, Minister. Allow me to greet the Chair of the Portfolio Committee, the members, honorable members present here, fellow South Africans. We are in a very difficult situation, in a transit marriage, where we'll time and again be reminded by Che Guevara that the first task of a revolutionary is to be educated. That is simply to avoid the hollow speeches that will trade us into insults. The African National Congress support budget vote 36, purely because, Minister and your team, we can safely say that through asset assistance program, the people of South Africa across are benefiting on daily basis. We can safely say that in Limpopo, Hamujach, through the Ramuchinyali corridors, 8 small farmers are there given boreholes, irrigation system, given the seats. Among the 6 are the people who are living with disabilities. We are saying here, exiting the very same area, people are given machinery in a form of embroidered. The last number, now their production is doubled. We are very much aware that the red tape is an enemy, and through the red tape reduction, which is not on paper, is happening, and we are dealing with that. We are very much aware that those who benefited in the exclusive economic policy of apartheid will never go down without a fight when we implement the inclusive economic policy, where color is not a qualification for grant, where color is not a qualification for licensing. We therefore call upon about all those that they think the small business department should be closed, that is a dream. It can't be when we improve the life and the living conditions of the masses, the previously disadvantaged, through the small business development, then people come stand just to come and lay for positions. We are doing this purely because the cooperatives are the future. The only department that can channel and ensure we arrive there is this department. This department, it is there in Mpumalanga. Man Kovela, she has proved that she's now in the market, not necessarily local, but international. This department is in Mutata. Mam Janji has proven to us that she is no longer just giving to the state, she is now delivering to the Boxer and other big shops, and which we are targeting to ensure that they must become black-owned shops. This department is in Gauteng. The Gauteng printers, they have confirmed to us that they have doubled the production, even to those who are just arriving today to go and look for T-shirt for campaign. The production has doubled, and they will get that. Dealing with the cacophony of jabberings for those who lack this will always be a problem. The problem is being in where it matters is sober maturity policy conversation. Not grandstanding with a fake combat uniform from PEP. So, as the African National Congress, we support this. And thank you so much, the Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Hey, Mike, why am I catching flames here?
Honorable members, can we not please open our mics when we are not? Honorable members. Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, please. I will now recognize the Honorable Minister of Small Business and Development to close off the debate.
Thank you so much, House Chairperson. As I have to deliver the few points. I think it's important to just caution members, especially members that are getting paid and elected to make law, not to really try to undermine the importance of the law. I emphasize this at all times. Honorable members come here and complain about the challenges that are faced by small businesses, and they themselves believe that there's no need for law because they are comfortable with the laws that excluded the majority of this country. When we begin to introduce laws that must change the narrative and respond to current challenges that are faced by entrepreneurs by bringing those that were left behind on board, they have a serious problem. The department does not, this country does not need frameworks, does not need legislation. Haibo, this department has only one legislation. People are taking pride that they've been in parliament in this committee since in the last 10 years. One legislation that has been approved. And then they want us to say we must not do anything. People come and complain about red tape at municipal level, and yet they don't see the need for the framework and the policies. Whilst we're introducing the business licensing policy, that must deal with the challenges that members are complaining about in relation to the delays when licenses are issued and all the other issues of illegal migrants that are trading in areas that they're not supposed to trade on. There is everything wrong with a lawmaker that is elected to make law, but has phobia of making the law. It really indicates a country in a crisis and a party in a disaster. Well, of course, honorable members, as I thank those
Honorable members. Please continue, Honorable Minister. My apologies.
As I continue to thank the honorable members for their productive inputs, those that have been productive, I would want to remind the honorable members of the numbers that we have reported in their committee, those that are attending. We disbursed 3.2 billion rands to MSMEs in the financial year 24-25, above the target that was set for 2.1 billion, because this money, when we put, it comes back as we deal with the DFI functionality. Of the 3.2 billion that we disbursed, 300 million went to MSMEs and cooperatives in the agriculture space, forestry and fisheries sector. 229 million of that went to construction MSMEs, 261 to manufacturing MSMEs, and 159 million to transport, logistics, and storage sectors. This tells you that we are now focusing on sectors, identifying our own niche, just like we would say, when a particular store, retail store sells shirts, we want the buttons to be produced by small businesses. That's what we are financing. Building a pipeline for trade and industry, those that like big corporates, and they don't believe that big corporates started by being small. And let me tell you the difference between DTIC and the Department of Small Business Development. Ours is to create that pipeline, introduce new entrants into the space so that when they graduate, they become big businesses that you're comfortable like, because I don't blame you because of the past, and then you don't believe that you must bring in new people on board. We have spoken about the need to invest in business development support because our small businesses continue to be excluded from market access opportunities, including funding opportunities, because there are those that still design their laws and policies to exclude small businesses because they say they're high risk. Now you don't want a framework and a policy that must address that? Then I don't understand why are you here for, especially in the portfolio that you are getting paid to serve. Now, there's an honorable member, I don't know if it's still honorable. If you come to this podium as a member of parliament and then you complain about what this government does and the ANC does not do, and yet in your own backyard, on the 16th of May, News 24 reported about a number of entrepreneurs and formal traders that were being chased away by the city of Cape Town. And of course, people will not complain because they are not from all these beautiful places, Claremont. They are from Hanover, and Hanover does not matter. Entrepreneurs from Khayelitsha are not an issue. Therefore, honorable members from the Democratic Alliance will come here and grandstand and claim to be the best performing municipality in dealing with red tapes because they are leveraging the Businesses Act of 1991, prior democracy, that used the licensing methodologies to exclude our people in the economy. It shall never happen again. We are going to bring laws and you are going to contribute on those laws as lawmakers because that's what you get paid for. We are going to make sure that we address the challenges that are faced by our people together with yourselves. We hosted the LED summit, I reported here, as some of you were invited. In the LED summit, the declarations that were made gave even timelines of saying how municipalities are going to respond to the issue of the bylaws, reviewal of the LED strategies that must feed into supporting small businesses. But because we don't know what we get paid for, we come here and say we don't need frameworks, we don't need laws, and yet we come and complain. All these forums that you see unnecessary are forums that created dialogue wherein you are saying you need political will, because political will without expression on paper and those legislative frameworks will not find expression. That is the responsibility of parliamentarians. And I thank those that have supported this budget vote. Of course, we will do our best. We do appreciate, Honorable Matulelwa, the limitations that we have in terms of the budget. We're not able to do more because of the limitations that we have. I do accept the call that says, indeed, government must prioritize expanding the funding that we have. And unlike those that just say, close this department, there's a need for existence of this department, not because I need a job. I'm sure by now you know that my political currency is still relevant. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, that concludes the debate. And all honorable members are reminded that there are 2 debates that are scheduled simultaneously for 2:00 today. The Social Development Budget Vote number 19 will be held in the Good Hope Chamber, while the Public Service and Administration Budget Vote number 11 debate, including the National School of Government Budget Vote number 7 and Public Service Commission Budget Vote number 12, will take place in Committee Room M46, where we are currently sitting. That concludes the debate and the business of the mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise.
Honorable Chairperson, can I ask where did they buy that camouflage?
When Uchablis Deputy Minister,